Chapter 141, Mu Xiaoxiao's identity. A few minutes later, Yu Jie brought the doctor in. He told the doctor what had happened and let him examine her. After giving Mu Xiaoxiao some glucose to drink, the doctor started his examination. Relax, you don't have a concussion. You'll be fine after resting for a while. I'll write a sick note for you, you don't have to attend morning classes anymore. However, you have to be careful next time. A volleyball hit to the head can have major repercussions and might even be extremely serious. We understand. Thank you, doctor, Yu Jie said. The doctor smiled as he looked at him. Take care of your girlfriend next time and don't let her get hurt anymore. Alright, come with me. I'll give you her medical certificate. Yu Jie blushed but did not correct the doctor. Mu Xiaoxiao's reflexes were too slow. Before she could explain that she was not his girlfriend, the doctor and Yu Jie had already left. Girlfriend. Ha Qiqing exclaimed in surprise, her eyes widening as she looked at Mu Xiaoxiao. He's your boyfriend. Way to go, Xiaoxiao. You've only been back for a few days, yet you already have a boyfriend. Mu Xiaoxiao forced a smile as she explained, that's not it. We're just friends, not a couple. The doctor was mistaken. Can't you tell, you idiot? Ha Qiqing smiled suggestively. I can tell, TSK, can't you? He was so worried for you, and he even took off your shoes himself just now. I don't believe that he doesn't like you. Mu Xiaoxiao held her head between her hands and whined, I'm still feeling very uncomfortable right now. Can you stop annoying me? Okay, I'll shut up. Ha Qiqing mimed zipping her mouth shut. Yu Jie only returned 10 minutes later, but his hand carried an additional plastic bag. When he walked over to the bed, Mu Xiaoxiao opened her eyes. Yu Jie smiled at her and took out the things from the bag one by one. I've bought some food for you to eat. There's a sandwich, yogurt, and some other things. See what you like to eat. If you don't like any of them, I'll go out and buy some other things. Is the yogurt strawberry flavored? Upon hearing that there was food, Mu Xiaoxiao's eyes sparkled, and she sat up. Ha Qiqing jumped up from the other side of the bed too. I want to eat too. She grabbed the sandwich swiftly. I want to eat the sandwich. Mu Xiaoxiao was a little gloomy and reached out to snatch it back. You can eat something else. Aren't there so many other things to eat? No, I want to eat the sandwich. Give it to me. I want to eat it too, and I got it first. Blame yourself for being so slow. I'm a patient, can't you let me have my way? Yu Jie was dumbstruck by their interaction. Their behavior with each other suggested that they had undoubtedly a really good relationship with each other. Yu Jie obviously knew Ha Qiqing's status. The Hans was one of the big four families, so they were very eminent. His background was no match for theirs. However, Mu Xiaoxiao had such a good relationship with her. Making a connection with Yin Shouji's protection of Mu Xiaoxiao, Yu Jie arrived at an inevitable, shocking guess. Are you really good friends? Yu Jie finally blurted out, unable to control himself. Mu Xiaoxiao jolted and stared into his eyes. Ha Qiqing hugged her neck and grinned at Yu Jie. Xiaoxiao and I aren't ordinary good friends. We've known each other since we were young, and we're really close. We're each other's best friends, she said. Even though Yu Jie had guessed this, he still looked shocked when he heard the answer. Chapter 142, What are you being so difficult for? Internally, he chuckled to himself bitterly. He had treated Mu Xiaoxiao like a child from an ordinary family. Even though Mu Xiaoxiao had said that she had transferred over from America, everyone had assumed that she had been a commoner since she was academically inclined. In addition, no one had seen Mu Xiaoxiao being chauffeured by luxury cars before, so they thought that she was lying about her status. Mu Xiaoxiao said guiltily, Yu Jie, I wasn't trying to conceal the truth on purpose. Yu Jie replied understandingly, I understand. Actually, she had never talked about her family background at all. What people thought they knew was based off the wild speculations of others, so she hadn't done anything wrong. Then are you and young Master Ji childhood friends? He asked. This was the thing he was the most curious about. Mu Xiaoxiao nodded. Yeah. Beside them, Ha Qiqing smiled and said, Xiaoxiao's relationship with Yin Shouji is closer than my relationship with her. They've known each other since Xiaoxiao was born. Yu Jie's expression looked a little unnatural. So that's how it is. This cleared up the reason for Yin Shouji's special treatment of Mu Xiaoxiao and the words she had said at the girls back then. He suddenly had a desire to see how the girls would react after they knew Mu Xiaoxiao's relationship with young Master Ji. That would be exciting. Originally, Yujie had wanted to stay here and accompany her, but with her kicking here, there was no need for his presence. After chatting for a while, it was time for him to go back to class. I'll come and visit you after school then. Rest well. Okay. Yujie then left. With a peculiar expression on her face, Ha Keqing said, did you see that look of disappointment on his face just now? After he heard about your relationship with Yin Shoji, his entire being, how do I put this, he looked like he had been jilted in love. Mu Xiaoxiao rolled her eyes. I told you to stop with that nonsense. Yujie and I are only friends, and his concern for me is only out of friendship. It's not as romantic as you think it is. Ha Keqing thumbed her nose at her. Humph, just you wait. You'll get that he likes you eventually. Mu Xiaoxiao snatched the sandwich from her hand. Say anything more and you won't get to eat. Hey. Fine, I'll shut up. Give it back to me. Nope. The gears in Mu Xiaoxiao's head turned. Unwrapping the sandwich swiftly, she stuffed it into her mouth. Ha Keqing shrieked, Mu Xiaoxiao. You're too sly. With the sandwich in her mouth, Mu Xiaoxiao said in a muffled voice, Yujie got this for me in the first place, inside an office. Yin Shoji lolled about on the long sofa lazily. His eyes were fixated on his phone screen, and the corner of his lips twitched occasionally. Ha Keqing pushed the door open stealthily. She looked around the room and only entered upon seeing him. Great Master Yin, did you have a fight with Xiaoxiao? She asked. Yin Shoji lifted his gaze and looked her in the eye. I don't think my office is somewhere that you can enter and exit freely, no. He said expressionlessly. How stingy. I'm here to be your mediator. Curious about what he was watching, Ha Keqing walked to his side and craned her neck to peek at the screen. Yin Shoji moved his phone away unobtrusively. This is a private matter between her and me. Ha Keqing replied uncomprehendingly, what are you being so difficult for? Is it because of the picture of her and Lu Yichen? They're just sitting down and having a meal together, how is that romantic? Anyway, I was also there on that, you were where? Yin Shoji narrowed his eyes. Chapter 143, Hurry and Makeup. Ha Keqing suddenly remembered that she had promised Mu Xiaoxiao that she would keep this a secret, but she had accidentally revealed it. She gave herself a metaphorical slap on the mouth. She laughed to cover up her mistake and said, anyway. Xiaoxiao and Lu Yichen don't have anything going on between them. She personally told me that she only views Lu Yichen as a friend and harbors no romantic feelings for him. Upon hearing this, Yin Shoji's freezing demeanor thawed. Really? Ha Keqing nodded vigorously. Of course. Why would I lie to you? We only speak the truth when we have our heart-to-heart talks. She also approves of me chasing after Lu Yichen. Would she have said that if she had feelings for Lu Yichen? Yin Shoji seemed to believe her words. His icy expression warmed and melted back to his usual cynical one. Why did she meet up with Lu Yichen that day then? Not only did she meet him behind his back, but she had also lied to him after she returned. His anger began to rise as he thought about that. Ha Keqing shrugged. I don't know. They looked like they were just chatting and didn't really talk about anything. Even something like just chatting would surprise people because Lu Yichen usually kept girls at a great distance. No one had ever seen a single girl get into his good graces. Ha Keqing felt a little downcast. She had always hoped that she would be the exception to those girls. Who knew that this spot would be taken by her good friend? Yin Shoji's mood looked like it had improved immensely from the chilliness Ha Keqing had felt when she had entered the room. Sometimes I don't get why you girls like to lie to people, he muttered in a low voice. Cocking her brows, a displeased Ha Keqing retorted, are you blaming us girls? Oh please, great Master Yin. Even though I don't know what Xiaoxiao lied to you about, think about it. Don't you have beef with Lu Yichen? If you knew that she was going to look for Lu Yichen, would you, with that tyrannical attitude of yours, have let her go? The answer was, of course not. Yin Shoji narrowed his eyes. Ha Keqing already knew the answer with just a glance at his face. Harumping lightly, she said, does Xiaoxiao know how petty you are? You're the one complaining about us girls when you're hating Lu Yichen over such a trivial matter. You're the childish one here, okay. What did you say? Yin Shoji narrowed his eyes menacingly. Ha Keqing stuck out her tongue as she realized that she had been too presumptuous. After all, she was not Xiaoxiao, and Yin Shoji would not be as accommodating towards her. Alright, you should hurry and see Xiaoxiao at the sick bay and make up with her. Standing up, she prepared to leave. Yin Shoji frowned slightly in incomprehension. Sick bay. Why would she be in the sick bay? It's one thing for your lazy asterisk to go there to sleep, but why did you drag her along? That's not it. Don't you know what happened? Ha Keeking pointed at his phone. She had seen the video when she had taken a peek at it earlier. Yin Shoji picked up his phone. Do you mean this? What about it? Wasn't this filmed on purpose? He had thought that Mu Xiaoxiao had fabricated the video herself in order to garner sympathy and humor him so that his heart would soften. Ha Keeking's words felt like a slap to his head. Fabricated. Xiaoxiao was really hit by a ball. She almost had a concussion and is still resting at the sick bay right now. What? Yin Shoji's facial expression changed immediately. Before she could react, he had already rushed out of the office. Chapter 144. Could she be any dumber than this? Upon arriving at the sick bay, Yin Shoji found it empty. There was no sign of Mu Xiaoxiao. He wrinkled his brows reflexively. Even though he suspected that he had been fooled by Ha Keeking, he still couldn't help but worry. Just then, a doctor walked past. Blocking his path, he asked, "Where is Mu Xiaoxiao? Is she not resting inside?" Coincidentally, the doctor was the one who had examined Mu Xiaoxiao earlier and was a little taken aback by this. After realizing that it was young Master Ji in front of him, he answered quickly, "Young Master Ji, might you be talking about the girl whose head was hit by a ball?" Yin Shoji's heart tightened. It seemed like Ha Keeking wasn't lying. Mu Xiaoxiao, that fool, had really been hit by a ball. Could she be any dumber than this? She still thought about sending a video to placate him even though she had already been injured so badly by the hit. His heart softened as he thought about Mu Xiaoxiao's tone in her message, which had pleaded with him to stop being angry so pitiably. He remembered that something similar had happened when both of them were young. After they had fallen out, she had fallen down and scraped her hands while chasing after him as he ran away. She had ignored her injuries, however, because placating him was her only desire. In the end, both of them had made up quickly after he found out that she had injured herself. Yin Shoji felt frustrated all of a sudden. He wondered what he was doing and why he had been so furious. When he had seen the picture, he only remembered feeling that something had snapped in his brain before an uncontrollable fury burst forth from him. If he had calmed down to think things through, he would have realized why Mu Xiaoxiao had chosen to lie to him. However, he was now utterly confused about what he was angry for. Was it because Mu Xiaoxiao had lied to him or the contents of the picture? Never mind that now. He should look for her before anything else. It's her. Is she in serious condition? Isn't she supposed to be resting here? Why is there no sign of her? Yin Shoji interrogated the doctor relentlessly. His expression, with his knitted brows, repelled people from coming close to him. Met with young Master Ji, the doctor was inevitably frightened, for this young master was infamous for his unfathomable fury and also had the absolute and final say in matters within Shangde. He was terribly afraid that he would offend this person. The student's condition isn't serious at all, and there is no concussion. She will recover if she rests well, the doctor replied respectfully. Where did she go? Can't you answer all my questions in a single go? Yin Shoji was annoyed. The doctor wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. My apologies, young Master Ji. Yin Shoji said sharply, can you hurry up and speed it out? Where is she? She hasn't been gone for long, her boyfriend came to take her away, the doctor replied in a single breath. Boyfriend. Hearing this, Yin Shoji's forehead wrinkled even more, looking as if it could squash a fly in between the folds of his skin. His icy aura made the doctor feel the urge to retreat from his presence. The doctor could only nod. Yes, her boyfriend. He was the one who brought her here too. Which one? Lu Yichen. Yin Shoji's tone was freezing. The doctor knew Lu Yichen of course, for he was one of the notable people in Shangde. He shook his head. It's not him. It's another boy. Who? Yin Shoji furrowed his brows. An image of Mu Xiaoxiao's first day in school flashed into his mind. At that time, she had been hanging out with a boy. Could it be that boy? Yin Shoji turned to leave but stopped suddenly. Eyes flashing with aggressiveness, he said to the doctor, you'd better listen up. She's my woman. Remember that. Chapter 145, Stay there and don't move. It was only when he had started walking outside that he remembered that he should call Mu Xiaoxiao. He had rushed over in anxiety earlier, and had never expected her to be absent. The call connected only a few rings later. Before he could speak, Mu Xiaoxiao's delighted voice rang out from the other side, Ji. You're not angry anymore, are you? Yin Shoji's heart skipped, and he blurted faintly, "Your DM Ned fool." Mu Xiaoxiao sounded aggrieved as she said, "What are you scolding me for? What must I do to calm your anger? I can explain things, listen to me before you decide whether you want to be angry with me, okay?" Yin Shoji had an impatient personality. He talked as he walked, ignoring her words. "Where are you right now?" he asked directly. "I'm at." Yin Shoji lifted his head and happened to see her in the distance. He stopped for a second before quickly making his way towards her. "I see you. Stay there and don't move." With that said, he sped over. Frozen in shock by his shouts, Mu Xiaoxiao stood at her original spot in a daze. Then, seeming to feel his presence, she looked towards where he was. "Gee, how did you?" He was really fast and reached her in a moment. Before she could finish her sentence, Yin Shoji glared daggers at Yu Jie beside her and said coldly, "Do you want your hands to be cut off? Why aren't you releasing her?" Yu Jie, who had been holding Mu Xiaoxiao up, froze. His expression changed a little, and he let go of her reluctantly in the end. Yin Shoji pushed him aside and took his place before pulling Mu Xiaoxiao into his embrace with his long arms. "Why aren't you resting in the sick bay when you're unwell? What are you running around for?" His voice took on a reproaching tone as he spoke, but it was much softer than the icy one he used when he had been angry before. Mu Xiaoxiao blinked and looked towards the direction she had been heading. Yin Shoji followed her gaze to the Year 2's building block. In that instant, he understood that this girl had been trying to look for him. "Mu Xiaoxiao, you're so damn net dumb." He scolded again, but this time, his gaze softened and his embrace relaxed. Mu Xiaoxiao pouted in displeasure. "You're scolding me again, you're the dumb one." "Stupid Yin Shoji, people who aren't dumb would transform into idiots after being scolded by you." Yin Shoji shot a glance at the nearby Yu Jie and asked, "Who the heck is this? Why did the doctor at the sick bay say that he was your boyfriend? Explain this." "Mu Xiaoxiao. You went to the sick bay?" Mu Xiaoxiao was astonished. No wonder he had come looking for her so suddenly. Yin Shoji glared at her. "The main point is the last bit. Answer me now." Mu Xiaoxiao pursed her lips. "It's not my fault that the doctor misunderstood. He's my classmate who sits in front of me and helps me out a lot. Stop being so aggressive towards him." Yin Shoji had noticed that Yu Jie's gaze had become a little gloomy after he said this. Even though this made the former's lips curl in pleasure, he still pretended to be unhappy. "I'll accept his presence grudgingly. Let's go and get you some rest. You shouldn't be running about when you're still feeling discomfort." Mu Xiaoxiao glared at him huffily. "Isn't this your fault? If a particular person hadn't gotten angry randomly, she wouldn't have zoned out, been hit by the ball, and ended up resting in the sick bay. She wouldn't have even needed to look for that particular person to make up with." Thinking that she may still be dizzy from being hit on the head, Yin Shoji released her and half squatted in front of her, indicating that he wanted to carry her. Climbing onto him would have been a very natural gesture for Mu Xiaoxiao until she remembered that Yu Jie was still looking on right by them. Chapter 146. What are you planning to do to Xiaoxiao? She shot an embarrassed glance at Yu Jie before replying to Yin Shoji, "No need. I'm feeling much better now, and I'm not dizzy anymore." However, Yin Shoji still commanded domineeringly, "Get on." Beside them, Yu Jie chuckled bitterly. He wanted to express his graciousness, but his throat seemed mysteriously stuck, and he couldn't utter a word. Mu Xiaoxiao looked at him apologetically and said, "Yu Jie, you can go back to class first, I'll be fine with him here. Thanks for helping me, I'll treat you to food next time." Yu Jie finally found his voice. "Xiaoxiao, you're too polite. Just hurry back to the sick bay to rest." Looking at Yin Shoji, he said, "Young Master Ji, please take good care of Xiaoxiao then." Upon hearing these words, Yin Shoji's annoyance reared its head. Displeased, he glared at him and said, "Let's be clear about this. Xiaoxiao is only close to me here. You're a mere outsider, do you have the right to speak to me like that? Scram, I don't want to see your face. Why was this guy such an eyesore?" Yin Shoji. Mu Xiaoxiao turned angry at his display of temper. Yu Jie's face looked awful. Looking at him, Mu Xiaoxiao said, "Yu Jie, I'm sorry, enough. Why are you apologizing to him? Hurry up and get on, you hear? I'll hit him if you don't get on now." At the limits of his impatience, Yin Shoji delivered this ultimatum. Helpless, Mu Xiaoxiao could only get on his back. Before she could say goodbye to Yu Jie, Yin Shoji had already carried her away swiftly as though she was as light as a feather. Yu Jie's eyes darkened as he watched their disappearing silhouette. Unexpectedly, Yin Shoji didn't take her back to the sick bay but to a luxurious-looking European-style building. Even though Mu Xiaoxiao had seen numerous buildings like that in America, her breath was still taken away at the sight of this one. What's this place? They entered a lobby. The fancy chandelier hanging from the high ceiling made the place unimaginably beautiful, and there was an elegant spiral staircase nearby. This place practically resembled a classical European castle. This is the student union's building, Yin Shoji said in a mild tone. He carried her up the second floor and entered a room. Mu Xiaoxiao could only catch a blurry glimpse of the sign on the door. Office of the President of the Student Union. She was slightly shocked. Could it be? Yin Shoji pushed the door in and entered. Seeing that Ha Keqing was still inside, he frowned and said, "Why are you loitering about?" Ha Keqing was on the sofa eating some fries and drinking a beverage, looking like she was enjoying herself. Seeing them, she smiled and said, so you've made up. Putting Mu Xiaoxiao down, Yin Shoji expelled her bluntly, "Get out. My office isn't your recreation room. Humph, casting away your benefactor now that you've made up her." Ha Keqing grumbled, but she still stood up from the sofa and made her way over reluctantly. Yin Shoji glared at her. "It's not like there isn't a recreation room on the first level, or you could always go to the sick bay to chill. Suit yourself. Fine, I'll leave, what a petty boy." She had, of course, mumbled the last part, for she would never dare to scold this young master in his face. This was a right accorded to only Mu Xiaoxiao. Just as Ha Keqing was about to exit the room, she stopped. Turning back to look at them, she finally noticed that Yin Shoji was still holding Mu Xiaoxiao's hand. She gave a suggestive smile suddenly. "So, you're chasing me off so that you can be alone together. Great Master Yin, what are you planning to do with our dear Xiaoxiao?" Chapter 147, Keeping Mum About Being Bullied. This chapter is updated by Wuxia, blog translator, Atlas Studios editor, Atlas Studios. Mu Xiaoxiao felt a little embarrassed by her words. Unexpectedly, Yin Shoji suddenly embraced her and planted a kiss on her cheeks. He waggled his brows devilishly at Ha Keqing. "Do you know what my relationship with Xiaoxiao is currently?" he asked. "What's your relationship?" Ha Keqing was both confused and curious. Yin Shoji smiled and said, "We're engaged, and she's my fiancée now. Whatever we do behind closed doors is perfectly justified." Ha Keqing was shocked. "What? You're engaged? Since when?" Mu Xiaoxiao answered a little awkwardly, "A while after I got back. Actually, our engagement was the doing of Io. She was pinched at the waist by a certain someone." Yin Shoji said to Ha Keqing, "Then, can you leave now? Don't disturb us." Ha Keqing wasn't really that astounded by the news, for the two of them had been on really good terms since they had been kids. As childhood friends, they had spent a lot of time playing in each other's company. It was expected for them to be together. "All right then, I shall stop being a third wheel." Ha Keqing waved and left tactfully. Yin Shoji pulled Mu Xiaoxiao over to the sofa and sat down. He frowned at the rubbish on the coffee table. "I should have gotten her to clean up before kicking her out." "Never mind that," Mu Xiaoxiao said. Grabbing a pillow, she laid down on a corner of the sofa and looked around. "This is kinda comfy," she said. "Yeah, that's why I brought you here. It was better than staying in the sick bay, which smelled like disinfectant." Lying there, Mu Xiaoxiao cast a glance at him and asked, "On the way here, I saw the door say that this was the office of the President of the Student Union. Are you the President of the Student Union?" She was in disbelief that someone so capricious could be appointed as the President of the Student Union. Yin Shoji shot a glance at her. "You have a problem with that?" Mu Xiaoxiao didn't reply. Her eyes were closed, and she looked like she was resting. Originally, she had wanted to ask if he had ceased to be angry at her, but perhaps it was because of her tiredness, in addition to the sense of security she felt around him, that she allowed herself to fall asleep when the urge to do so washed over her. Yin Shoji was torn between laughing and crying when he saw how she had fallen asleep in mere seconds. It showed that this girl had been very tired. The air conditioning in the room was on full blast. Seeing that she was hugging her pillow and curled up like a cat, he was worried that she would catch a cold, and so he found a blanket for her. Bending over, he covered her with it. After that, he didn't straighten up and remained bent over, studying her little face. The front part of her hair was parted, and it revealed the faint red marks on her head that looked like it had been made by a ball's hit. He seemed to remember something. He thought about the video she had sent and narrowed his eyes. Just then, Mu Xiaoxiao groaned and turned over in her sleep, causing her phone to fall out of her pocket. Yin Shoji picked up her phone and looked through it for the original, unedited version of the video. After watching it, his handsome face darkened, and his eyes turned cold. Things were just as he had guessed. His vision returned to her sleeping face. Her pretty face looked as delicate and fair as an egg, looking enticingly kissable. However, this was also the reason why she looked like a good target for bullies. Yin Shoji lowered his head and brushed a soft kiss on her lips. Little fool, why did you keep mum about being bullied? Chapter 148, Hatred towards Mu Xiaoxiao. A photo of Yin Shoji piggybacking Mu Xiaoxiao quickly spread throughout the entire school through the students' phones. Upon seeing this photo, some people turned pale with fright, while others felt extremely envious, and the rest, Hazue threw her phone down forcefully. Her face turned dark, and her eyes were scarlet as she huffed heavily. The nearby domestic helper was baffled by this and was also frightened by her expression. She didn't dare to move. Hazue shot a glare at her and roared with fury, "Pick it up at once." The luxurious living room was padded with a handmade carpet from Italy, so the phone was undamaged from the violent throw earlier. The domestic helper trembled with fear as she picked the phone up and handed it over. Once Hazue had the phone in her hands, she threw it again fiercely. This time, it hit the wall, and a sickening crack was heard. "Older sister, are you still angry about what happened in school?" Hayuna said as she made her way down the stairs while smiling. "How about coming over to second high? Then we'll be together." Hazue eyed her with contempt. Why would anyone want to attend the same school as the child of a slut? I wouldn't ever attend such a trashy school even if I was invited to. The corner of Hayuna's eye twitched a little. Even though she had predicted that Hazue would reject her idea, the tone she had used still infuriated the former. "Shinde has expelled you, and St. Maria doesn't want to admit you. Hehe, I'm so envious of you, you can take such a long vacation so openly." Hayuna said this with a smile on her face, her tone full of sarcasm. Apart from Shinde High, St. Maria Institute was the only other elite school catered to the rich. "Hayuna, who do you think you are? How dare you mock me? Believe it or not, I can chase you out." Hazue, who had already been in a fit, was now boiling mad because of her provocation. Picking up the phone on the floor, Hayuna's expression changed instantly as she saw the photograph on its screen. "This photo is," she recognized Mu Xiaoxiao from the photograph. Noticing the hatred in her eyes, Hazue smiled. Misery loves company, after all. This is Mu Xiaoxiao, young Master Ji's new favorite. Gritting her teeth, she spat, "I was expelled because of her." Hayuna's gaze was cold as she sauntered to her side and sat down. "Sister, even though I know you hate me, we now have a common enemy. Should we work together? You hate her too." Hazue's curiosity was piqued. She could see from Hayuna's eyes that they not only held the resentment of having young Master Ji stolen from her but also hatred. This girl, just because young Master Ji adores her, she has been going around acting so arrogantly. I've been annoyed by her for the longest time already. The mention of Mu Xiaoxiao aroused the hatred in the depths of her heart, and Hayuna's lips twitched. "How would you like to collaborate then?" Hazue asked. Mu Xiaoxiao was smiling brilliantly as she was being carried by Yin Shoji in the image. Looking at this picture made Hayuna want to rip Mu Xiaoxiao's face apart. "Sister, say, what do men care about the most?" There was a sweet smile on her face, but the viciousness of a scorpion was reflected in her eyes. "What?" Hazue saw that she had a plan. Hayuna swept a glance at the domestic helpers around them and ordered, "You may all leave." It was seldom, but Hazue didn't mind that she gave herself the airs of a young missy this time. The domestic helpers left, leaving only the two of them in the living room. Hayuna waggled her brows and said, "If a woman is neither good looking or has been violated, do you think young Master Ji would still like her?" Hazue narrowed her eyes. "So you're saying that we should mutilate her face and force someone on her? We can also make her a cripple, for example, make her lose a hand, make her lose a leg, make her go blind, or cut off her nose. It makes me feel so gross just thinking about it." Hayuna was smiling, but the words that came out of her mouth were of the most malicious sort. Chapter 149, Why should we show her mercy? Upon hearing these words, Hazue's brows furrowed in discomfort. Isn't that a little too harsh? She had thought herself to be a vicious woman, never imagining that Hayuna would come up with an even more savage idea. One could already feel extremely uncomfortable and disgusted by the imagery she had painted. If such a thing happened to a girl, her entire life would be inevitably ruined. However, Hayuna had smiled as she had described her plan nonchalantly. It gave one shivers down one's spine. Hayuna paused for a moment before putting on an act as she goaded, I was trying to think of the most brutal punishment because of how much you hate her. If you want to give her mercy, feel free to disregard my suggestions. Anyway, I've already dated young Master G, and there's no hope of a reunion with him since he never goes back to the same woman. Whatever I try to do won't help me at all. However, it's different for you. Without New Xiao Xiao, you might be able to win the affections of young Master G. She mentioned the matter that Hazue cared about the most on purpose. Sure enough, Hazue retorted disdainfully after hearing these words, why should I be merciful towards her? Hayuna looked askance at her and said deliberately, I had thought, you would be afraid of going overboard and cause young Master G to resent you. After all, these methods are a little cruel, and if young Master G knows of your ruthlessness, he might not fall in love with you. Before Hazue could consider this properly, she continued, but think about this, if you don't act at least a little viciously, would you be able to vent your hatred completely? What if young Master G comes to sympathize with that slut and cares for her even more? Wouldn't that go the opposite way of what we wish for? Do you want to continue watching New Xiao Xiao being pampered while you've not only been expelled but also unable to get what you want? No. Of course Hazue didn't want this to happen. Right now, what she wanted to see most was New Xiao Xiao in dire straits, preferably abandoned by young Master G to the point of terrible and inconsolable heartbreak. Originally, Hazue was a little hesitant about this, but upon hearing these things, her resolve solidified. Then what do you think we should do? She asked Hayuna. Seeing that Hazue had been convinced by her words, she smiled to herself. I'm acquainted with some underground people who specialize in such matters, but it costs money to hire them, and I don't have. Upon hearing this, Hazue's face turned sour. It's only money, I have that. I'll give you the money, and you'll settle the deed. At the same time, she felt even more contempt towards Hayuna, as expected of the illegitimate child of a mistress. The latter had undesirable connections that were better kept under the table. Hayuna put on an awkward air and said, it would be a little hard for me to do this alone, especially as a girl, which would make discussing such matters a little difficult. Oh yeah, sister, don't you have bodyguards? How about letting me borrow a few? Without thinking twice, Hazue responded irritably, just borrow whatever you want. But remember, this must succeed. Seeing Hayuna in such a state pleased her. Hazue, being the true heir of the family, was not only given a large allowance by her dad but also given personal bodyguards, unlike Hayuna, who had nothing at all. This was the difference between a legitimate rich missy and the illegitimate daughter of a mistress. Relax, it will surely succeed, Hayuna said with a smile, her eyes clouding over with malevolence. Chapter 150, The unknown side of him as Mu Xiao Xiao peeled her eyes open slowly, the image of Yin Shoji sitting behind a desk greeted her. He had on some earphones, and his sexy lips mumbled something in a foreign language in a beautiful accent. His profile looked devilishly handsome, and the way his body was bathed in the sunlight looked breathtaking. She sat up before realizing that she had been lying down and covered by a blanket. Gee, what are you doing? She called out softly as she crossed her legs and rubbed her sleepy eyes. The language he was speaking in didn't seem like English because she couldn't understand a single thing, and it also sounded weird. Oh yeah, it sounded a bit like French. Could Yin Shoji speak French too? Yin Shoji only shot her a glance before resuming his conversation with the person on the other side. From the way he was looking at the screen, it seemed like he was on a video chat with someone. Mu Xiao Xiao was curious. Getting off the sofa, she crept forward stealthily on her bare feet, not even bothering to put on slippers. What are you doing? Quizzical, she craned her neck to look. What was he being so serious over? Was he trying to pick up hot chicks? His expression didn't seem so, however. Yin Shoji used a hand to block her face, preventing her observation before quickly closing the video window. Mu Xiao Xiao, where are your manners? How dare you spy on me? He said as he looked askance at her. Mu Xiao Xiao pouted. What's so mysterious that you have to hide it away from me? Who are you talking to? It's a secret. Yin Shoji pinched her little nose. What was that language you were speaking in just now? She asked. By then, he had already switched his laptop off and pulled her over to the sofa. French. Mu Xiao Xiao was surprised. It was really French, but she was still confused. When did you learn French? Why don't I know about it? There are many things you still don't know. How much of me do you think you know? Yin Shoji said while laughing. Ever since Mu Xiaoxiao had departed for the States, the time they spent together decreased. This, in addition to the onset of puberty and the lack of involvement in each other's lives, caused them to not understand many things about the other. Mu Xiaoxiao thought this was logical. He was also in the dark about what she had done in America. How many languages do you know then? She asked curiously. Yin Shoji obviously knew Mandarin and English, for he had received an elite education since he was little, and they had already known how to converse in English when they were kids. It was her exposure to English as a child that had saved her from facing a language barrier when she went to America. About 5 or 6, Yin Shoji replied carelessly, not bothering to count properly. Mu Xiaoxiao's eyes widened, stunned. 5 or 6. That's amazing. Yin Shoji smirked proudly and waggled his eyebrows at her. You only know this now. Mu Xiaoxiao sat on the sofa and crossed her legs out of habit. Pulling a pillow into her embrace, she gazed at him and said, her voice full of emotion, Gee, it seems like I don't understand you anymore. She had only been in America for a few years, but he had already changed so much. Not only was he a massive flirt, but he had also become so awesome. It seemed as though he had more than a few secrets, which made him feel strange to her. Suddenly, Yin Shoji leaned forward. His face, so handsome that it could incur the indignation of both man and god, was mere centimeters from hers. Want to get to know me better? He asked, his sexy voice sounding suggestive. Caught off guard, Mu Xiaoxiao accidentally gazed into his inky black eyes. It seemed to hold so much depth, and she felt like they were trying to pull her in.